look at the Raptors. They were very big hopefuls. They were incredible. Everybody, huge fan base, not just from Canada. You have people coming from all over North America come and see the Raptors. You have people coming from all over the world. They've imploded, would you not say, Perry? Have the Raptors not imploded?
They've got some pretty significant injuries, including one who may be their best player, who is their best player. This is about injuries, Frank.
But they've imploded. Well, yeah. You want to qualify and quantify why?
No, I'm going to say they haven't. They haven't imploded, Frank. Okay, it's just simple. It's fairly simple. They lost their best plaler. Okay,
so
how much more simple?
So can I ask you a question? When management sat back for the season, said, "Are we putting all the onus on one guy? If something happens to him, how do we circumvent that, and how do we take care of that liability?" They didn't think of that before.
I think they may have made a mistake in keeping the whole team together, figuring they didn't want to break up the chemistry. But in fact, this guy's got a fairly significant injury. It's a back injury. I don't know.
Yeah,
and they're doing their best to keep this kid as healthy as possible in hopes that he can even be ready for the playoffs.
Yeah.
You lose an all-star player like that, Frank.
Okay.
It's not implosion.
Fair enough. But Perry, I think as a franchise, you need to look at what your backup plan is. Whether it's hockey, whether it's football, whether it's basketball, whether it's baseball, you need a backup plan. That's right. In baseball, you have your starting pitchers, your closer, and you have relief pitchers. In hockey, and you've got a whole bunch of goalies. And in basketball, you need to have a contingency plan. And I think that's what the issue is here.
Well, I think the good teams, whatever sport you have depth.
100%.
Don't care
That's exactly what I was trying to say.
Yeah, you got to have depth, or you're not a championship team.
Yeah. So if Perry was quick on the draw to say boom, 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 but what does that talk about management to put all their eggs in a basket?
It just means that the urgency that you think is there really isn't, because they made it to the playoffs. They're going to get to the playoffs again. If they don't get by the first round, it's a disappointment. It's not a disaster, because they got cap space up the yin-yang to change this team in the offseason, which they will.
Do they know who they're playing in?
Why the fuck are we talking offseason?
Because I'm trying to explain to you, Frank, and you just don't get it. You just don't get it. They didn't implode. They lost one player. The franchise isn't going in the tank. They may not get by the first round, but they've got so much money in the bank in the offseason.
They've imploded from a team that was hopeful to a team that's hopeless. That's implosion to me. End of story. It is what it is. And there was no depth. So they lost a couple of their best players to injury. Unfortunate. But if you have depth, Billy, do you give a shit? If you lose a couple of players to injury, a couple of decent players, you got depth, right?
Well, yeah, but at the same time, Frank, this is a team that's come a long way, and it's one of the building blocks to overcome injury and have an evaluation of why. And so they're going to have to look to depth, but they're not going to get a guy to replace Lowry. He's the best basketball player they've had here since Larry Tannenbaum.
I like the way you said that.
Oh, sorry, I meant, what's his name? Carter.
Listen to beat.
What's the bottom line, Frank? They can go in the playoffs. They're going to get creamed by Cleveland if they get to Cleveland.
I'm just telling you, you know what, I don't want to fight with you. I'm just telling you that you got two great sports guys that are telling you if you don't have depth, you're dead. If you don't have money in the bank and you have a loss, you're going to go bankrupt. It is what it is. They should have saw this. They're one of the richest sports franchises in the world, between having three very successful. You have the Raptors, you have the soccer, you have the hockey, which is huge. Three big, in the portfolio. You should perceive that there's injury. People get hurt, especially in basketball. So I'm just telling you.
Even in basketball or hockey, you've got a long way, because it's the same thing. You're going to have 3 or 4 series, right, before you can win the championship. So if you don't have depth, you got nothing.
And you know what? Perry made the point earlier. They may find that the best thing to do is to sit Lowry don't let him play in the playoffs, because if it's a back problem, you know Phil better than anybody.
Oh, I had it done.
He's on a bad back and makes it worse, he may never play again.
100%.
And so they may just say, hey, hold it. He's not playing. He's not ready to play. And,
well, I can tell you this. I don't care whether it's basketball, hockey, or any sport. If your best player says that he's okay and he wants to play, he's going to play.
Yep. I don't disagree with that.